What is up, YouTube? It's Horror Master, and I'm back. Yes, I know I've been gone for a short while because of work and all that, but I'm back with another video, and this time we're doing City Collection Update number 6. So we are now at the number of the beast, and this time I don't have a big sack like I usually do. I think I have maybe close to 2, 4, 6, around maybe 7 CDs. 7 CDs that I picked up with the past maybe. I guess it's been like maybe two weeks since the last update I did. So apologies for that. Like I said, I'm trying to get more videos ongoing, but you know, life's a bitch sometimes. But hopefully this video satisfies you all how my collection is growing, and I can't believe we're up to already 6 episodes, and this is gonna continue going forward. I guarantee you, I'm never gonna catch up to Necrotic Nick's. I mean, City Collection update. He's close to 100 and maybe last time I checked 110, 112, something around that from Drossel Metal. So give those guys a check those guys out. They're pretty awesome guys. But enough with the jibber jabber. Let's get into the cities that I've got for you to show up. So the first one we have here is of course Autopsy Severe Survival. Now, if y'all know me, you know I'm a huge Death Doom guy, and Severe Survival when it first was released, it was kind of a mixed hybrid because it had more death metal than doom metal. Even though once you listen to this one, it has a bit more doom metal, but it's not until Mental Funeral, their follow up, that they began more to form more of a death doom kind of sound. But this one's a more straight of course, death metal album. Of course, the infamous alternative album cover, which, to be honest, I prefer this album cover than the original album cover, which luckily, this city includes that album cover, which is this one. Honestly, I always prefer this album cover than this one, just because I guess it has more. I guess it's more fantasy-esque, more gory, because you're like, what the hell are these things? Are there demons, zombies? You have no fucking idea what they are. But again, I always prefer this album cover than the original. Just my opinion. And in terms of the album, I mean, the album is probably one of the best albums that came out in during the time, which this was around maybe 1989. So this was already almost not really at the peak of death metal, but was beginning to start the peak of death metal with bands like Death and Cannibal Corpse and Obituary and Morbid Angel and so on and so forth. But again, this album, amazing album. We have songs like Service for a Vacant Coffin, Stillborn, Critical Madness, Impending Dead, the title track, Seabird Survival, this Bowel, you go on and so forth. And the thing I like about this is that it has some bonus tracks that actually, it's funny that some of the bonus tracks in this album were demos from Mental Funeral. And in Mental Funeral, which I have the CD, has bonus tracks, demos from Severe Survival. So it's kind of a funny thing if you think about it. But the reason I got Autopsy because one, I didn't have it in my collection, and two, if you all saw what happened in the Maryland Death Metal Fest, I mean, which I'm like, kudos to the person who did that. Which, my God, he's a trooper for doing that kind of act in the hot sun. I mean, kudos to you, man. I mean, for doing that. But I mean, again, Severe Survival, an amazing album. Next up, we're gonna go into a bit of an discography, because I've been lately been getting more into creators, so I got a couple creator albums that I was able to snatch up. First one we have is Coma of Souls. This was their, I want to say this was in 19. I'm not sure if it was 1990 or 1989. I think it was 1990, around the early 90s. So this was the last album that Creator did before they began, as we like to call it, the dark age of Creator, until they came back from Violent Revolution. And again, at this time, Creator was creating constantly creative, well done, produced, exceptional albums in terms of German thrash metal. To me, Creator has always been my favorite German thrash metal band, next to Sodom, Destruction, and then at the bottom, Tankard. But this album, it's creative. One more thing creative. When you have something like When the Sun Burns Red, Coma of Souls, Agents of Brutality, Mental Slavery, so on and so forth. And the thing I like about this album is that it's a double disc. Of course, it has the CD, and it has some live tracks, which I think the live session was, I think it was. Let me check. It was recorded in. Let's see. I know I saw it around here. Here we go. In 1990 in Frankfurt, Germany. And funny thing enough, this was during the time that Creator was touring with Death. So, I mean, again, Chuck touring with Creator. One more Creator, one from that. I mean, come on, it's fucking Creator. And speaking of Violent Revolution, that's the follow-up that I have here, Violent Revolution. Again, this is a great comeback album in terms of Creator because, like as I mentioned before, after Coma of Souls, they kind of went to this kind of middle dark age, as we like to call it. You know, when they kind of wanted to experiment with other styles of metal. Which kudos to Creator for trying to, I guess, expand their horizons, but it wasn't really Creator when they kind of went from industrial to kind of groove metal to even gothic metal. To be honest, I already listened to those 4 albums. I listened to something like Diablos y Música or Catharsis or Chinese Democracy, to be honest, because those albums have the good tracks, but they're not really albums that I'm personally going after. After the 90s went up, the 2000s came out, and in 2001, of course, they released Violent Revolution, and it was a comeback to their German thrash roots. I mean, the title track, when you started with Violent Revolution, such a heavy song. Get a War, Bittersweet Revenge, Mind on Fire. I can go on and on. I mean, again, this was a comeback of all comeback albums. I'm not saying it's probably top 10, probably maybe top 20 comeback albums because, like I mentioned before, Creator has always been consistent with their albums except for those middle dark ages. So it was a refreshment to see Creator going back to their German thrash roots and gave us a monster of an album in the beginning of the new millennium. Next Creator album I have is actually Phantom Antichrist. For a lot of people, this was their album of the year for 2012, yeah. And for a good reason. I mean, in terms of the post-Violent Revolution era, because the 2000s era of Creator, in terms of Phantom Antichrist, I think it ranks at the very top next to something like maybe Gods of Violence. And for a good reason. I mean, when you start off the track with Phantom Antichrist, which is a staple song that is sang to this day, what more can you expect from that amazing song? Even the fucking album cover. I mean, look at that album cover. It's kind of like, I don't know, dead corpses with a fucking, I guess, Cerberus-esque kind of pet or horse or whatever the fuck you want to think it is. But, of course, again, world, heaven, my hell, the few, the proud, the broken, united in hate unto our paths cross again. Again, Creator, one of the best German thrash metal bands of all time, and probably my favorite German thrash metal band. And of course, I had to snatch Phantom Antichrist for it. And I'm slowly working on my Creator discography because I eventually want to do a rank 'em all Creator. So I'm slowly getting the Creator discography in motion, which will take me a while, but I will bring you guys that discography as soon as I get, basically everything except for the middle 90s stuff, which I really don't care about. But yeah, regardless. And the last Creator album I have here in my collection is the new one, which is Hate über Alles. I've been jamming the living crap out of this album for the past week and a half when it barely came out, and another exceptional, fantastic, fast, amazing album Creator discography. And yeah, I've heard the claim that it has gotten mixed reviews over being a kind of more melodic-ish, which, to be honest, I like the more melodic side of, metal. I mean, my favorite song is Conquer and Destroy, when it started with the melodic guitars and then the chorus. And this is the thing about Creator after the 2000s, that some of their songs are meant to be sang along, chorus-esque, bang your head, fist in the air. And they kept that formula ever since, Violent Revolution onward. And again, another exceptional album. The title track, Hubert Alas, is great. Killer of Jesus is great. Become Immortal, kind of like that little Judas Priest kind of esque guitar inspiration to it. And also, Mila's vocals have never been better. Demonic Future, Dying Planet. Even when Mila starts to sing, kind of clean, non-guttural, not really guttural, but more of his raspy vocals. It's still a phenomenal album. So this is probably gonna be in the top 10 albums of the year in my list, because the more I listen to it, the better it gets. The better it gets, the more I love it. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to Hate Over Alas, give it a fucking listen. You will not be disappointed. So we're down to 2 more albums. Next one, I got this on Bandcamp. Maybe I pre-ordered it. I want to say maybe a month ago, and it came like a week or two ago. And I've been enjoying this album. Well, another album of the year contender that could be on the list. And of course, I'm talking about a more of a atmospheric black metal kind of esque suicidal black metal, if I can say so myself. Of course, I'm talking about the band Nocturno with their debut album Obsessions. Now, I know you can't see from the camera, but look at that album cover. It's kind of a bit of a beautiful album cover. You don't expect it to be more about black metal. To be honest, I thought it was gonna be more of a like a doom metal album from the album cover. But once you listen to it, it's like pure atmospheric, kind of suicidal black metal. If I can say so myself, but it only has 3 tracks, and each track is more than 10 minutes in length. Plus, I think the last track's like maybe close to 14 minutes, which it's a journey of its own. And it's, if you're like your suicidal kind of atmospheric black metal, you want to look for something different, go give these guys a listen. I mean, they're probably, I think there's a 2-person project, if I remember correctly. And not to forget, the vocalist is a female vocalist, which it has more sadness, more depression to that album, which it works so much. And I'm so happy I was able to get this album. Not only that, it came up with a little patch, which I will show you guys right here, with a Nocturno patch, which I will eventually gladly sew on my battle jacket one of these days when I have the chance. And last but not least, the final album, which I saved for the last, was an album I just got today as I'm recording this video. And it was an album that I searched high and low for nearly 2 years, because it was impossible to get it. And if it was there available, it was for a ridiculous amount of price, which I would not pay X amount of dollars for this album. So in the back of my mind, I've always wanted to get it. I was like, you know what, let me just wait for it. And then one day, I was going through Discogs, and this album just popped up at a good decent price, and I had to immediately snatch it. And of course, I got it. And if you all know me, I've been talking for a lot of albums that I've been wanting in my collection for a long time. And I'm so happy I finally get to have one of my favorite, not modern, but one of my favorite albums in the past couple of years. And of course, I am talking about The Foreshadowings, Days of Nothing. Just what are the facts? From the album cover, it kind of reminds me of big of a maybe a labyrinth. It's a Labyrinth's Wall, the movie, that kind of has a bit of inspiration-esque to it. It's of course a doom metal project from Italy, and it doesn't have any guttural vocals. The majority of the vocals is just clean vocals, but the guitars, the lyrics, are just so beautiful and so majestic that I was so happy I finally had this in my collection, because you guys have no idea the pain in the ass it was to finally find it for a decent price, because this album's been out of print for... This album came out in 2007. So this must have been out of print for almost... just give it 2 years, 2009, so close to 12 years. So it's kind of hard to find an album of this magnitude in decent condition, to the point that's not a bit fucking disaster. So I was happy that I finally was able to snatch this album in my collection, and probably one of my hidden gems in terms of my collection. And that's it for this video. I hope you guys really enjoyed this little mini video of my collection update. I know this wasn't really the amount of albums I actually get. I usually try to get maybe 10 plus albums so I can show up in a video. But for the amount of stack that I got, which is kind of a bit of a smaller stack, to be honest, and it does the justice. Like I said, I'm gonna get more albums in the future. I'm expecting some pre-orders. Hopefully around September, because I know I pre-ordered the new Behemoth album, which I'm hella excited to get that in the mail one of these days. There's some other albums I have my eye on. Of course, I'm gonna continue completing the creator discography, because that's the next rank. That's the next rank I want to do. One of the next ones I'm gonna do in the future. There's a lot of things I'm gonna do for you guys. There's a lot of things I'm thinking of doing, and I hope you guys really enjoy and stay along for the ride. And I hope you guys really enjoy the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do the usual things. Follow me on my Instagram. Follow me on my Twitter, where you can catch me and kind of the daily life between what I do outside. You know, show some of my CD collections and, you know, just the fun stuff. And I hope you guys will enjoy. And until next time, stay metal.